Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Ask Me Anything session here in Resilient Realtor. I apologize if you were expecting Christy. I agree that she is much more interesting than I am, but unfortunately, she was tied up today, and so I am filling in. But don't worry, everything she knows, she learned from me. Okay, that's not exactly true, but a lot of what she learned from me. So happy to answer any questions that you have. I should be able to see any comments that you might make. So if you have, again, this is an Ask Me Anything session. So if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, well, hopefully real estate related, but it doesn't have to be real estate related. I don't know. I'm not super well versed on things outside of real estate. Anything that you want to know about, I don't know, team building or P&Ls or prospecting or getting more business or, whatever it is that you're looking for, that is why I'm here. So I'm hoping some people will start chiming in and asking some questions. Kelsey, is the best way for them to ask questions to just submit a comment, to write a comment? Okay, so I should be able to see any comments. So just kind of waiting for some questions to come in here. Hopefully you guys have some questions or comments or things you want to talk about today, because I don't have anything prepared. I'm just here to answer your questions. I think I'm going to sit down. I'm at my stand-in desk. I just finished a coaching call and I'm going to sit down. Okay, awesome. Okay, excellent. So we did just get a question, and it is apparently the question came from Christy.
Me.
Oh, okay, got it. How do you know when you're ready to start a team? I'm glad that you asked that. I do think that a lot of the times people start a team when they're, I don't know, because it just feels like that's what you're supposed to do. Right. Like a lot of people are like, well, I'm selling a decent amount of houses and it seems like it's a popular thing to start a team. Lots of other successful people I see have teams, so I guess I'll start one too. and I don't know if that's necessarily the right reason to start a team. I think that, and there's a lot of different versions of teams that we could talk about here, but let's just start with the most basic version, which is basically a more simple version of that question is, when should you hire an assistant, right? Because when you think about it, like once you hire your first assistant, you are basically starting a team. And I think that you should hire an assistant as soon as possible and before it's comfortable to like, before you like really feel like totally like, before you feel totally like, oh, I can totally afford this and I've totally got all the money set aside and I'm ready to go. And there's a lot of reasons why I believe that. Number one, you'll treat your business differently when you have an assistant. Like you will like, I don't know, it's sort of like how if you have kids, like when you first have kids, like you start living differently, you start like your whole life changes. Having an assistant, you treat your business differently, you treat it more seriously, you start to realize that other people are counting on you and depending on you, and but more importantly, you can spend more of your time focusing on the activities that matter more and spend more of your time doing things that you enjoy doing and less of your time doing things that you don't enjoy doing, and spend more of your time on things that you're good at and less time on things that you're not good at. So I really believe that you should hire an assistant as soon as possible. I'm not even opposed to, like, even if you're like a newer agent and don't have a ton of deals in your belt, if you can afford to take on a salary, then I think you should hire an assistant as soon as possible. Again, I think it's going to make you grow up, and it's going to make you force you to focus and work on the right kinds of activities. Now, as far as like, when should you take your, when do you go to the next iteration? And by the way, guys, I see a few more people are starting to join. Again, this is an Ask Me Anything session. So this is just me coming on, answering questions that people have. And the first question that we got was, how do you know when you're ready to create a team? So that's what I'm just kind of shooting from the hip on. But if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. And as soon as I'm done answering this question, I'll move on to the next question. So assistant as soon as possible. Um, as a salesperson, as a realtor, your time, even in a lower end, if you work in a less expensive market, and there's not as, maybe your average sales price is, $250 or $300,000. Even there, your time is probably worth, if you're using your time effectively, of course, right? If you're prospecting time, if you're out, meeting clients and shaking hands and kissing babies and like creating relationships and meeting clients and prospecting for clients, your time's probably worth $100 an hour, right? On the low end. And so I believe that you should be able to hire an assistant for much less than that. And so it's creating leverage for you and your business. But it's also going to help you live a better life. Like we all know, like in real estate, there's just too many dang plates to spin. I always tell everyone, like, imagine if you like went to a doctor's office, right? And the doctor was also the receptionist. Like you go in and the receptionist there greet you, they give you the paperwork, and then they say, okay, take you back. Then they check your blood pressure, and then they do all of that. They take your weight and all that stuff, and then they take you to the waiting room, and then they're like, oh, by the way, it's me. I'm also the doctor. Like you would never do that. Why? Because a doctor knows, even if they're a brand new doctor who's just starting their practice, the doctor knows that their time is too valuable and that they can pay other people less money to do all of those tasks so that they can leverage their time. And the concept for a realtor is basically the same. Now, as far as the next step, how do you know when you're ready to like start bringing on agents, right? Start bringing on sales agents and building more of a traditional real estate team? Number one, you need to really think about a lot of things before you do that. I would highly recommend going, I don't have a book in front of me right now. I would highly recommend going through the book Traction, or possibly the book 4 Disciplines of Execution before you even start a team, before you even bring on an agent, and make sure that you're crystal clear on what you're building. What's your vision? What are your goals? What are your standards? Like sometimes I see people are like, oh, well, we're kind of friends and we kind of get along. And hey, you know what? Let's just sort of join forces and start working together. Or why don't you join my team because you think you like me and we think we're great together. But there's no like, what's your unique selling proposition? What makes your team special? What is your, like really defining all of those features of your team before you start bringing on agents. And then obviously a huge component is going to be the financial aspect. I think the idea of like building a team is pretty sexy, but the reality is that a lot of teams are really, really struggling with profitability. And so making sure that you are crystal clear on what are you going to provide for the agents who join your team. Like there's a lot of teams out there. So if I'm an agent and I'm thinking about joining a team, why am I going to join your team? But also, what is it going to cost you to provide that to me? Both in time and in money. So considering those costs, what kind of split are you going to take? So having all those things predetermined, having your standards, having your kind of mission, vision, values, and like a clear vision around what you're trying to build are all really important before you start bringing on sales agents. So I think that's a fairly thorough answer as far as like building a team. I would also add, Christy did a training on this just a few days ago at the Tom Ferry Elite Retreat. I wish I could say it as awesome as she does, but what we are seeing right now is that small and mid-sized teams are, teams with 4 or 5 agents or whatever are really, really having a hard time with profitability. So I believe that, a team either needs to be like one super agent with multiple assistants, or and we know several agents and coach several agents who are like that. Or if you're going to start bringing on other sales agents to the team, it probably needs to be scaled. You might need to consider the idea that you need to build these mid-sized teams are really struggling, and you might need to build to 20, 30, 40, 50 agents at some point to really be able to build a business that scales and that makes sense and that eventually allows you to phase out of production and live the life that you're hopefully trying to live. But you need clarity around what kind of life you're trying to live before you do any of that stuff. But also like these, small to mid-sized teams, again, let's say you have 6 agents we've seen this happen so many times where all of a sudden overnight you lose 3 or 4 of them, and now you're really struggling with profitability because you had kind of an exodus from the team. Sometimes it's just coincidence, like one person gets pregnant and one person decides they don't want to do it anymore, and then one person, whatever, like the universe kind of collides, and all of a sudden you lose 2 or 3 for disconnected reasons, and then other times you might lose 2 or 3 for connected reasons. They decided to go form a different team somewhere else, or they got recruited by someone else and they were all friends, and so they left together. So I personally believe you either need to be, an agent with, like, start with one assistant and eventually grow to multiple assistants, and you have all these assistants doing lots of different things for you, and you're the one in production. But they handle everything for you, that version of the team. Or if you're going to start bringing on sales agents, I think it has to be scaled. I don't, having been through this for many years now, I don't think it's very fun or feasible to run a team with, 5 or 6 agents. It's very, very difficult. All right. Again, this is an Ask Me Anything session. So if you guys have any questions, anything that you want to know more information about, feel free to chime in, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. So, or follow-up questions. Like if I said something that you wanted more information about that I didn't really dive into, you can ask clarifying questions as well. So we do have Kelsey here, logged in as Christy, but it's actually Kelsey asking me some questions. I just want people to know that it's not actually Christy, because then they'll be like, well, why isn't Christy teaching the class if she's available to ask all these questions? So next question that we got asked here is, how do you know which CRM to pick? There's a lot of really good CRMs out there, and they all do a lot of really, really great things. And obviously, I'm sure you've heard the one you'll use, like pick one that you're actually going to use consistently. So many agents have CRMs that they have it, they're paying for it, but they're just not utilizing it. They're not logging into it on a regular basis. My CRM is always open. Like I never close it. It's just always open on my desktop. You should be in your CRM absolutely every single day. If you're not in your CRM every day, I don't know how you're possibly staying organized and keeping leads from falling through the cracks, and knowing who to call or what to work on at a given time. With that said, I will share, in my opinion, it's very important to me with our team that our CRM has a connected website with an IDX, right? Like, I'm not a fan personally of the CRMs that don't have a connected IDX. That is the most powerful piece to me. I want to be able to log into the CRM in the back end, and I want to be able to see what homes they were looking at, how many times they looked at it, who's been logged in on my website most recently. Like, I want to be able to see all that activity. My CRM is set to notify me, like, hey, this I get a task scheduled automatically whenever a lead looks at the same home 5 times. Or when a lead marks a home as a favorite. Like, I want them using my website, not Zillow. And so that the idea of having it connected, like, I don't love the CRMs that are just a database that don't allow you to have that website connection feature. So the big name ones that do that are Boomtown, which of course is awesome. I love Boomtown, but it's also fairly expensive. Sierra Interactive, KV Core, Commissions Inc., Chime, Real Geeks. Those are the big name ones. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing, but those are the big name ones out there that I know. And for the most part, I feel like the basic, they all have like some advanced features that the other ones don't do, right? They all have their claim to fame of like, this is what you can do on ours. Oh, Ylopo. This is what you can do on our site that you can't do on, these other sites. And, but for the most part, they all allow you to categorize your leads. They all allow automated drip campaigns. They all allow you to set to-dos and send emails and send text messages. And for the most part, they all have very similar features. So choose whichever one you like the front-end website the most, and you like the cost works for you, and go, they all work. They all work if you do. All right. Okay, good. I'm really excited. We're starting to get some more questions coming in. So let me read this one real quick here. All right. So, what do you do when you have a listing that has gone stagnant, right? You've got a listing, it's out there, and it is, listed in, November or December. The price was too high. Now you've tried to lower the price a little bit, and, the feedback from the agents coming in is still good, but it's still not selling. Any recommendations on things that you can do? This one's important. A lot of people are asking this kind of question right now. Heck, I think I'm asking this kind of question right now on some of our listings. I do have a couple of opinions, but I don't know if any of it is fact. um, Opinion number one is that if the price is compelling, it will sell no matter how long it's been on the market. So it's possible that the price still isn't compelling enough. I know that's not fun to hear, and I'm sure the seller is going to be, aggravated by the idea that we want them to lower the price further. But I think that ultimately, even if a home's been on the market for 150 days, if it was priced competitively, people will see. Not even competitively. If it's priced aggressively in this market, sometimes we got to price aggressively. Competitively is not enough. If it's priced aggressively enough, if buyers feel, regardless of how long it's been on the market, that it's the best value, it's the best home out there available for the money, then someone will buy it. But also, as far as just sort of repositioning it without reducing the price, sometimes rearranging the order of the photos can help. Adding open houses can help. And then, all the most serious buyers, right? The buyers who are like out there ready to make offers right now, they're almost all set up on these auto alerts, right? They're all set up on a drip campaign, from their agent with homes that meet their statistical criteria, right? Or whether maybe it's even on Zillow, but they have a save to search set up. And anytime a home has a price reduction, they get notified by their platform of new listings that came on the market, listings that came back on the market, and listings that have price reductions. So I am a fan of, like, instead of, like, let's just say the seller was open to agreeing to lowering the price by whatever, $10,000. Well, instead of lowering it $10,000 all at once, I would rather lower the price by $1,000 10 times over the course of a month, right? As an example, because I think you're going to get twice as many, more than twice as much exposure than you would if you just did one $10,000 price reduction, because of, like, the increase in views and the increase of online activity that typically follows after a price reduction. Like, I don't know if you ever look at, like, the Zillow dashboard, the owner dashboard of a Zillow listing. But anytime you do a price reduction, you see a 1 or 2 day spike in how many views the home is getting. So if we're just trying to get eyeballs, right, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do, we need to get more people to see the home. I also really like the idea, change the primary photo to a different photo, because if you did a price reduction and they've seen it before and they recognize it, then they might just skip over it. But if you put a different primary photo, they might not have seen the kitchen before, as an example. And they're like, it catches their eye and they decide to click on it. They were only looking at the thumbnail, but something about the new photo captures their eye and they decide to look at the rest of it. I don't know what, different markets. I know there are some MLSs that require the first picture of the house to be of the front of the house. But most houses, in my opinion, the front of the house is not the most interesting part of the house. In Arizona, right, a lot of the times it's the backyard, right? So could the listing be more compelling if you had, like, a backyard picture displayed first, or the kitchen picture, or the great room, or the master bathroom? Play with that and see if that you can get some increased activity that way. All right, another question that we have here. How can you better your time management so that you can have personal time? I work all day long trying to turn leads and prospect and feel that if I walk away, I won't accomplish what I need to accomplish. Other personal things that I need to be doing. How do you break the hyper focus on work and still accomplish what you need to? Well, I think the first one is kind of going back to our first question, if you were not on for that, like I would encourage you to hire an assistant as soon as you can. So that way, all the important tasks are still getting done without you being the one to have to, without you being the one who always has to do every single thing. I gave this example earlier, but I'm going to tweak it this time. Like, imagine if you went to a restaurant, right? And one person was the host, the server, the cook, the dishwasher. Like, it was just one person running the whole restaurant. Like, it wouldn't be a very good restaurant, right? And so I think that it's just too hard. It's just too hard to do everything that a realtor has to do as only one person. It's not really feasible, not to mention the idea that you are not the best in the world at every aspect of this business, right? Hopefully you're the best at relationships and talking to people and sales and negotiating, the things that absolutely must be done by a realtor, but you're not the best at designing flyers or at organizing your CRM or at long-term lead nurturing and building out drip campaigns and social media posts and like just all the different things that need to be done. Could you hire an assistant to help leverage your time better? The other answer is a little bit more, I guess, historical. I guess the answer that you hear a lot is the idea of time blocking. I always, when you only give yourself 30 minutes to complete a task, you usually find that you're able to get it done. But if you just say, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to start working on my computer and I'm just going to sort of, manage all the dings and pings that are coming in as they come in, right? I've got my email, I'm going to catch that up, but I'm also going to be on Facebook and I'm going to be on all these different things at all these different times. You'll find that the work expands to the time allotted to it. And so if you're not giving yourself a specific deadline of like, okay, I have to finish this work by today at 5:00, you'll find that you actually get a lot of it done. But if you're like, well, I can just take this work home with me and continue to work on it tonight, then it's going to expand to that and you're going to end up needing to get it done tonight. So try to be a little more strict with like your time blocking. Now, this is just me personally, the gospel according to Merrill. Oftentimes you attend these seminars and you hear about this idea of time blocking and like, okay, you're going to prospect from 9 to 11 and then you're going to do lunch from whatever and then you go on appointments from this time to this time. And I find that most agents who try to have a very strict time block like that really struggle with maintaining it, and it eventually falls apart. And then they give up on the idea of time blocking until a year later they get fed up and they try to start all over again. I don't know if anyone else has been there, but I have. Like, okay, that's it, I'm going to time block. And they try to do it all over again, create this beautiful color-coded schedule, and they stick with it for 3 days. And then something gets in the way and it falls apart again. So I think that I'm a service-oriented agent. If I have a client who wants to go see a house at a time that doesn't fit into my time block, I'm usually going to go show them the house anyway, unless I absolutely can't, right? If I have another appointment, then I have to reschedule it. But honestly, and I know there's people who disagree with this, so I apologize. But like, if I've scheduled myself to go to prospect from 9 to 11, and I have a client who wants to go see a house at 10. I'm going to go show them the house at 10:00. But the difference is that the way I look at it is our time blocks are not these things that can't be moved. I look at them as like building blocks that toddlers use, right? The little ABC 1, 2, 3 blocks that you see. Like, it's okay if you need to shift things around. I'm going to do if I have to go out and show a house today at 10:00, then that's fine. But I can't just say, okay, well, now my prospecting isn't going to happen. I'm going to move that prospecting block lower. So now my appointment block is going to become my prospecting time. Like, you do need to make sure that you're spending time on prospecting or lead generating every single day. But I think you need to be a little flexible on where it's going to fit in. Where are you going to fit it into your day? And so, I think it's okay to shift things around, if that makes sense. But if you don't have any appointments, you should have a fallback, right? So yeah, I've got no appointments today. It's 9:00. I go look at my calendar. I'm supposed to be lead generating right now. Now, a lot of times people see lead generating, they're like, well, I don't really know what that means, right? Like, I think a big challenge also with it is that they don't really know. They time block prospecting because they were told that they need to put prospecting into their schedule, but you still don't really know exactly what that means. So you need to have like a more specific, okay, from 9 to 10, I'm doing lead follow-up. I'm calling back the leads that are in my CRM and database. And then from 10 to 11, I'm prospecting for new business, but be more specific than that. Like, are you circle dialing? Are you calling FISBOs? Are you calling expireds? Are you calling your past clients in Sphere? Like, I'd be a lot more specific with your time blocking so that you know what kind of calls you're supposed to be making at any given time. So I hope that helps. I know there's no like, I don't know that I necessarily have like a exact answer. It's hard, right? It's hard to balance everything that we have to balance, not just in real estate, but in life, right? I mean, it always feels like no matter, when you focus on one category, it's very hard to maintain all those other categories at a high level. There is a really cool kind of self-assessment exercise that I've been through. What is it called? It's like, I'm trying to Google it to see if I can come up with, see if I can share it with you. It's like a wheel. So it's like this circle and it has all these different categories. What would you call that? Like a wheel assessment, maybe? Yeah, here we go. I think I found one. Yeah, like a wheel of life. So I'll share my screen with you here real quick. So anyway, these are examples of some wheels of wheel. Actually, I think I like this one the most. Let's zoom in on this a little bit here. But basically, you can take take all these different categories of your life and grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of those categories, and kind of decide, how do I feel like I'm doing in each of these categories. And it's a really great way to sort of analyze, like, how well is your balance and where do you want to shift your focus and spend more time or less time. But it's all about, it's all about being intentional. Let me stop sharing my screen now. It's all about being intentional. I'm not sure if I personally buy into the idea of being perfectly balanced. Like, I don't know if I buy into the idea that every category of my life is going to be a 5, right? like I think that you're never going to have a perfectly round wheel, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay to be obsessed about certain categories. One of my favorite books actually is Be Obsessed or Be Average. I think it is Be Obsessed or Be Ordinary, Be Obsessed or Be Something by Grant Cardone. Absolutely love that book, and he talks about like just being absolutely obsessed and all in, and I think that's okay if you're absolutely obsessed or all in one category of your life. Sometimes I get that way. I've got a very obsessive, extreme personality, and sometimes I just become completely obsessed with investing, and I'm just like, it's all I can think about. It's all I focus on for a while, and it's when I'm in my car, I'm just listening to podcasts about investing, and like, I just focus so much energy and attention on it for a while, and then eventually I tend to shift. So yeah. All right. Anyone else have any other questions? Oh, no new questions yet. So yeah, feel free if you guys, if you're finding this helpful. Again, if you're just now tuning in, if you haven't been on the whole time, we are doing an Ask Me Anything session. So this is an opportunity for you guys to come on and ask any questions that you want, as far as like how to get better in business or in life or in real estate or anything like that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. I love talking about real estate investing. So if anybody has any questions in that category, or team building, or coaching or anything like that, just don't ask me like questions about how to be an interesting person. No, I just barely finished answering kind of a time block. Went off on a long kind of 10 or 15 minute tangent about time management and kind of how to balance everything that you need to in real estate. And now I'm just waiting to see if anybody else has any other questions.
How do you answer, what's the market like?
How do I answer what's the market like? So the question that we probably get most frequently in real estate is how's the market? Um, and I just attended a really cool seminar last week, a Tom Ferry Elite Retreat, and Phil Jones, who's the author of Exactly What to Say, was there. And I'm wishing I could remember. He actually took us through that exact question, and I wish he did it so beautifully. And I wish I could remember how he did it, and I don't, because his way was better than my way. So I'm going to learn that and come back and answer that for you at a higher level. But here's what I will say. Most agents don't know the market anywhere near as much as they ought to. They, I coach agents all over the country and often and talk to agents all over the country. And oftentimes, when I ask them that question of how's the market, I feel like I'm getting a very like biased response. Well, the market's actually really good. Like, yeah, we're not seeing that slowdown. Like, well, no. A lot of them will say, well, we've seen a slowdown, but homes are still moving, right? They're trying to put like this positive spin on everything. And I think that the public, when hears that kind of answer, they just think that we're biased, right? And we are biased, right? But they ultimately think that we just want to sell them a house. So we're trying to sugarcoat things so that they are not afraid, right? And I am just a humongous fan of I'm a humongous fan of actually knowing what the market is doing in your area. I have a thing that I do every day. Every single day, I look at how many active listings are in our MLS, how many pending listings are in our MLS, how many listings have sold in the past 30 days, and what the month's supply of inventory is, which is just take the active divided by how many homes sold in the last 30 days to give me a month's supply of inventory number. And this does like a lot of things for me, but it ultimately it gives me a very, very good pulse on the market. I know at any given time whether the inventory is rising or falling, and I know at any given time whether the total number of pending contracts is rising or falling. And I know that in the Phoenix area right now, we are seeing inventory decline at a pretty fast pace. Back in early November, we had around 21 or 22,000 active listings. And today we're down to, I've got the exact number right here, 15,627. Well, at least that's what it was when I posted it at 7 o'clock this morning. I'm sure it's slightly different than that now. So 15,627 active listings. I also know that back in December or early January, we hit a low of only around 5,000 pending homes. So the whole Phoenix area, 5,000 homes had a contract on them. Today, as of 7 o'clock this morning, we were at 8,843. So we've seen inventory go from 21,000 to 15,000. We've seen pendings go from 5,000 to 8,000. So I'm able to tell people, a lot more accurately when people ask me how the market is. I'm not able to just say, well, this is sort of how I feel, right? But I'm able to say, you know what, we're really seeing it in the Phoenix area right now. Like inventory is declining, and it's declining pretty fast. Like, in other words, homes are selling faster than they're being listed at the moment. Now, that could just be like, maybe people are waiting until the spring. I don't know. But at the moment, homes are not coming on the market as fast as they're being sold, right? And we're seeing demand really pick up. The total number of pending contracts is rising quickly. Now, a lot of realtors subscribe to a report, right? In the Phoenix area, the big name one is called the Cromford report, right? And they analyze all the data and they just spit it out for you on a chart. So you can just go look at the report and bam, here's all these different reports and charts and graphs and things that you can look at. And here's the way, and I think that's useful. I like those tools. However, if you can remember back before GPS, when you were driving a car, right? If you had to like get to a friend's house, or maybe it wasn't even a car, maybe it was on a bicycle or something like that. If you had to get to a friend's house and they like gave you written instructions or whatever, and you got there, you never needed to be told how to get there ever again. Like you knew how to get to that house. But now with GPSs, like we don't well, maybe I shouldn't speak for everyone, but I don't pay attention to where I'm going half the time. I'm just following the blue line. And it's like, I don't really learn how to get places. I practically need the GPS to get home. Right. And, and so I think that these reports that you can subscribe to are a lot like, they are a lot like these reports that a lot like a GPS, right? You're not really learning how to get there. You're just seeing the data. And so I think that you should find some sort of market stats that you look at where you aggregate it yourself. You search your MLS, you find the data, and build your own chart, build your own spreadsheet. You're going to internalize it way better that way than if you're just looking at some other report or graph that somebody else created. And it doesn't need to be actives and pendings like I was doing. Another really, like what I would look at is, and I'm looking at my entire MLS because I've got a team and we work basically the entire Phoenix metro area. But if you just work in, one smaller area, don't look at your whole MLS. Set up a search in your MLS that only looks at your service area. What's happening in your service area? What's happening in your town? The other thing, like, a lot of people subscribe to like national things like Keeping Current Matters, which I'm a fan on. I like Keeping Current Matters, but the problem is it's what's happening nationally. Your clients can already see what's happening nationally on the news, right? Like what they want from you is what's happening hyper locally. So, knowing what's going on with values in a specific neighborhood. It could also be like, one of the things I've been showing a lot of clients who I coach is, what kind of change have we seen in the average sales price? So in the Phoenix area, we hit our highest average sales price was back in May of 602,000. And more recently, it fell to as low as 509,000. So average prices have fallen by almost $100,000 in the Phoenix area. And I like to be able to share like those really detailed and specific pieces of information with people. I don't want to sugarcoat things. I want people to know what's really happening. And I don't want to just say something super generic. I want to come across as like super knowledgeable. I know the market. These are the numbers. This is what's happening. Now, of course, I'm a little bit more analytical than a lot of people are. So if you're not analytical, find a way of simplifying it. Find some sort of metric that you can track and measure. But I would encourage you to go back and look at average sales prices over the last year. Like over each month, what was the average sales price last February? What was it in June? What was it in December? And what was it over the last 30 days? Or what was it in January? So that you know what are average sales prices in your area doing. So that when people say, well, how's the market? You can say, well, as you know, interest rates have risen, right? A lot. Like a year ago, they were only 3%, and now they're 6.5%. And so that's had a dramatic impact on affordability, and it has caused home prices to fall. And so far in our market, we've seen average sales prices drop by about $90,000 from their peak. The good news is the number of homes for sale is declining. The number of homes that are pending is increasing, which is all pointing to the idea that the market is really starting to pick up. And I personally believe that it's bottomed out. Like, I don't think that we're going to see values fall any further. Barring any, World War III or some sort of major change in interest rates. Like, it feels like the market's really holding steady. If anything, it might even starting to be picking back up. Does that mean that we're going to start seeing prices increase by 20% a year? No, probably not. I predict that prices will probably be pretty flat this year unless interest rates somehow magically drop back down into the 4s or something like that. Then we might see enough competition where prices would actually rise. And somebody asked, how do you calculate the absorption rate for a market area? So the way that I calculate it is I just look at how many active listings are in that area, right? So if there were, let's just make some really easy numbers here. Let's say there were 100 active listings in an area, right? And there were 20 that sold in the past 30 days, right? So what you're doing is you're assuming how at the current pace of 20 homes selling every 30 days. So 20 homes sell every 30 days and there's 100 homes available. Then you just take 100 divided by 20 and you have a 5-month supply of inventory. It sort of is a metric, like pretend no new homes came on the market. How long would it take before everything that's currently available is gone? And that's how I calculate the absorption rate. Actives divided by the number of homes sold over the past 30 days. And you can customize that by, again, you can look at your entire MLS or you can pick a specific service area. Any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions that they want me to talk about or address today? Again, if you're just tuning in, this is an Ask Me Anything session. So if you guys have any questions or anything you want more information about, just post a comment in the video and I should be able to see it. Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? I don't actually care. I'm a big basketball fan. Love NBA basketball. I don't really follow football at all. I usually watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials and for the halftime show, but I know it's like kind of un-American of me, but I'm just not that. All right, I'm going to give it another minute or two here to see if anybody else has questions, and if not, I'm going to wrap it up. So if you've got a question, I'd love to answer. I potentially got until 12, but I also don't want to just sit here talking about football until 12. So if you have a question, please chime in, put a comment, and I will do my best to answer it. Okay, well, no new questions are coming in. I'm trying to give someone a minute in case they're like still typing it. If you're like trying to type something out, just like put your partial question and then say like to be continued, right? Like so that I get it and I know that you're in the middle of typing a question. If not, I think I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds here and then I'm gonna end. Oh, yay, we got one more. All right, what are you finding is working best for lead sources? Um, I see a lot of agents right now who are trying to implement new lead pillars because they, suddenly are not getting as much business as they had in previous years because the market has slowed down. So suddenly a lot of people are trying to, okay, I'm going to start calling for sell-by owners, or I'm going to start calling expireds, or I'm going to start circle dialing, or whatever it is that they're trying to add. And my biggest concern about that is that we're going to neglect our past clients and sphere. I think that now more than ever is the best time ever to double down on your past clients and sphere. Do you have a detailed and systematic way that you stay in touch with all of your past clients? Do you have a specific plan for how you're going to add value to them? That's the most important thing that you can do. Now, if you're absolutely crushing your past clients and sphere, and there's absolutely nothing more you could be doing for your past clients and sphere, then I would probably look at adding a new pillar like, your personally, I built my business on open houses. So I love open houses. I know they're slower than they used to be, right? Like we used to be able to do an open house and get 100 people through, right? Now that you're not getting as much at open houses, there's a lot more open houses happening. But I want to go back to talking about the past clients and sphere. Like a lot of people say, well, I just try to, engage with them when I see them around town, or when I see people at the grocery store, or when I see they post something on social media. Like, no, I want a detailed written plan for all the different touches that your past clients and sphere are getting. So, for example, birthday cards, home anniversaries. What holidays are you sending cards? How often are you calling them? Do you have a newsletter that you're sending them? Do you have a pop buys? Yes, thank you. Yeah. Do you have any specific pop buys that you're going to do and deliver? And when are you going to deliver them? And who are they going to be delivered to? But my favorite is equity reviews. I think depending on how big your past clients list and sphere list is, everyone should be getting a minimum of one equity review a year from you. When I say equity review, I'm basically saying a CMA, but not because they're thinking about selling, but just simply because you're giving them an update regarding the value of their home. That's one of the most valuable things you can add. Even if you have them already signed up for some sort of automated report from HomeBot or something like that, This is different. This is you actually scheduling an appointment with them, 15 minutes. It can be in person, it can be on Zoom, where you or over coffee, you get together, you give them an update on what's going on in the market, you give them an update regarding the value of their home. I'm not saying you give them an exact value of their house, but I'm just saying, like, you keep people updated. The concept of this is like a financial planner, right? If you have an investment advisor or financial planner, and you have a certain amount of assets with them, they meet with you quarterly or once a year to give you an update on how your portfolio is performing, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, look at the equity that your friends and family and past clients and Sphere has, that's your assets under management, right? And so you should be doing things, giving them an update. If you have a smaller list, then I would do it quarterly or twice a year. But no matter how big your list is, once a year, all the people on your list should be getting an annual equity review update, market update, individualized, personalized, not just here's what's going on in the Phoenix area, but no, hey, this is a report I put together specifically for you regarding your home. Here's the comps for your home. Here's what's happening in your neighborhood. A really cool, really high value meeting. Because then that's, I've never been the type of agent who likes to call up my friends and family and ask for referrals. Because I don't want to make them feel like our relationship is predicated on them lining my pockets. But what I do want to do is stay top of mind and earn the right for them to want to send me referrals. So when I do an equity review for people, I end it with saying, hey, I hope you found this helpful and valuable. I'm not trying to talk you into selling. Like, this wasn't the purpose of this meeting. It was truly just, I want you to be informed. I want you to know your net worth. I want you to know what's going on in the market and be armed with information. But if you happen to know anybody who's thinking about buying or selling or moving, really anywhere in the country, I want to be your resource. So will you please just keep me in mind? Would you like a stack of my business cards? Something like that. What do my CMAs look like? Most of the time when I do an equity review for a client, so I'm sorry, somebody asked, what do my CMAs look like? And I'm sorry, so sometimes I'm using a service for this video, for this live, I'm using a service called StreamYard. And sometimes it shows me the name of who's making the comment, but most of the time it doesn't. It just tells me Facebook user. So I'm sorry, I don't know who is asking the question, but what do my CMAs look like? I actually don't put it into an official CMA format. I just have the comps pulled up in the MLS, saved as a listing collection, and I pull them up on my iPad and I go through those comparable sales. In the past, I've used Cloud CMA. I do not like the CMAs that are built into our MLS platform, are just really generic and ugly looking. So I like Cloud CMA a lot more if you wanted to put it into like more of a printed report. But I've kind of moved away from the whole printed report thing because I think that people want to be able to see the homes in a more interactive way. Although Cloud CMA has an interactive way to look at the comps now too. So that might be worth looking at. I was actually exploring that the other day. But people want to be able to look at the pictures. They want to see where it is on a map in relation to their house. They want to be able to see better details than just the statistical stuff that you typically see in a traditionally, PDF printed CMA. So also, if I can't get a client to agree to like a 15-minute Zoom meeting or a 15-minute coffee meeting or in-person meeting, I'll still create a video for them. I create a video for them and I send it to them either way, whether they want it or not. The way that I'm recording that video is I'm using a Google Chrome extension called Loom, Loom. It's sort of like Grammarly or any of these other Google Chrome extensions. All you have to do is click on it and it allows you to start recording your screen. So I have the comps pulled up. I might have like the Cromford report pulled up with some graphs to show them what's happening in the market. And I just talk to them about that and talk to them about the recent comparable sales to their house and, kind of give them an idea of what's happening in the market and in their neighborhood. And then Loom hosts the video, so you don't need to worry about uploading it to YouTube or anything like that. You just get a link. So once you're done with the video, they're like, here's your link. And you just take that link and share it And I usually prefer to text it to people, text it to them and say, hey, I just put together this updated equity review for you on your house on 123 Banana Street. Take a look. This is a video. Make sure you click on it. And, they click on it and watch the video, and people are typically very appreciative of it. So yeah, that's I don't know if I ever really finished answering the question, what am I finding is the best for lead sources? So I think I answered the first part of that question, which is your sphere, your past clients, your, all that, and really making sure that you're hammering that as a high level as possible. I mean, if you need some inspiration on how to do that better, one of my favorite people to follow is Glenda Baker on TikTok. I think she puts her stuff on Instagram and Facebook and other places as well. But Glenda Baker, one of the things that she has a team, and I think she even has a full-time employee whose main job is to wow her past clients. So she does it at a very high level. And I know she's not the only one, but she's just an amazing human. And I just really, really love her. And she does one of the ideas that she had, I don't know if she's still doing it, but I've always wanted to execute on it, but just never have. When she sees that she has a client on vacation, right, and they took their family picture on the beach and they posted it on Instagram, right? She takes that photo, sends it to Walgreens and gets it printed and frames it, and then has it delivered to their house before they even get home. So it's like this framed picture of their vacation waiting on their doorstep before they even get home. Brilliant. And it doesn't even cost that much. How much does it cost to print one photo at Walgreens, right? $1, something like that. And then a generic cheap picture frame for, $10 or something. So like $11, she created one heck of an impression. A lot of effort though, a lot of effort. So anyway, any other questions? I do have a hard stop at noon. So I do have about 6 or 7 minutes left here. If anybody else has any other questions, happy to stay on and answer any other questions that you might have. Okay, well, since no other questions have come in yet, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Hope you guys found this information helpful today. I really appreciate everybody who came and who contributed and asked questions. Hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing weekend, and an amazing week. And go out there, make your calls, and crush your business. Let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you. Feel free to send me a DM. And if you have any other questions that you didn't want to ask in front of anybody else, I'm always happy to help.